Morning guys, back here with another tutorial video, and what we're going to do today is we're going to do some of our sketching blocks. We're going to try and draw those in Fusion. And so I've got one of my isometric sketching figures 2.5 through 2.7, and so we'll look at that in just a second. But what I want to do real quick is, this video is really meant to be very basic again, so some of you this will be super repetitive. But again, I just want to make sure everyone has such a solid base before we go crazy. And so just opening Fusion, right? You can type it in down here, whatever works for you. I click it right here. And then I'm going to show you guys one other thing that I like to do, just to kind of maybe teach you guys a little bit about computers and customizing your computers and setups and things like that. And so I know I'm going to be using Fusion a lot, right? We're going to be using this program a ton as we move forward. And so I might want to have this easy access. Like you can see down here on the bottom of my screen, all these buttons. And if I want to keep Fusion down here, if I right click it, I get these options. And just right here, pin to taskbar. And that means it'll stay down here on the bottom of my screen every time I start my computer up. Okay, and so that's kind of, nice, I guess you could say. Okay, I want to go back to this. If you don't have this, what I just was kind of messing with over here on the left, how you bring that back is by clicking that waffle, and then you can hit the X to get rid of it, all that kind of stuff. And I like to have my screen maximized, not small like this. I like to have it take up the full screen. And what we're going to start today is we're going to draw, this is going to be, if I click on that, we're going to draw this one right here, 2.7. And so if this kind of annoys you being spun like that, if you hit print, it actually comes to this right here. And then if you click on this, it's a way to rotate it. So once I hit print, I'm not going to actually print it, but I can rotate it in this screen. And now this gives us a little bit easier, right? We have our front, top, right side, and this is what we're going to draw. So we'll be clicking back and forth from this to our Fusion and things like that. So now that we're back here, how do we save things? How do we organize it? If you don't have a new project created, you can do that first. What I'm going to do is I'm going to call mine tutorial videos. You can title yours, Fusion 360 Learning, Design and Manufacturing A, whatever you want to call it, tutorials. You can come up with your own project if you don't already have a system set up. But this is just to kind of keep organized. So I'm going to double click that and I'm going to let it save right in here. So the first thing I'm going to do is, this is a good habit to get into, is to save right off the bat. And so we're going to call this, what are we going to call it? So this is 2.7. And so let's call this ISO Sketch 2.7. And then I always recommend to put your name after it. And so I put Grady on there. We can just hit save right off the bat. And so now we're ready to kind of dig into our drawing here. And if I look at this, we're going to draw it. This is 12, and this is 13, and we're going to draw this whole thing, kind of going this way. All I'm going to do first is the base. I'm going to start with just the base that you see in this rectangle. And so that rectangle right there is visible in the top view, right? And so if I go into this, what I want to do to create my sketch is I want to have that sketch in the top view, right? And so I click on that plane right there, and yours might be in a little different spot. Maybe it's back there on that corner, but basically we want to have this top view right there. And so when you click that, your rectangle over here should then say top, right? It kind of confirms that I'm looking down on it, right? And so then let's do, we're going to do 13 by 12. And so I can go up here and create a rectangle. Well, let's check our settings first. I'll stick with units in inches, that's fine. Okay, so we'll go rectangle and just a corner rectangle. And I'm going to start it at the origin. And I'm going to take it out and I'm going to make it 12 by 13. And so I want this bottom one that's highlighted blue to be 13. And I hit tab. I'm going to hit 12. And then I'm going to hit enter. And I'm going to zoom back out so I can see this. If you want to draw this circle right now, you could in Fusion, or you could add it later. What do we want to do? Let's add it later. So for now, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to hit Finish Sketch. And then I'm going to hit my home view, and I'm going to extrude this object. So I hit extrude. I only have one rectangle drawn, so it automatically selected which profile. It says that, I kind of know what you want to do here, right? And we want to bring it up 1, 2. So I got 2 in there, and I can hit enter. And now I've got my base started here. Okay, now let's draw this arc back here that we see. And so what we need to do is, that's visible in the right or the left, either one of those. This one we see it in the right, but actually I want it on the back edge of the rectangle I drew. And so what I'm going to do first is I'm going to click on this corner to spin it around. I'm going to say let's create a new sketch. And this time I want the sketch plane right on this surface. And then it automatically whips me around, so I'm looking at this back left side now, which is where I want to be. Okay, and what we want to do is we want a straight line that goes up from this top edge. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then all the way across. And so what we can do is, you could draw it as a line or a rectangle. Let's go ahead and use the line tool so I can show you a couple different things. So it's snapped in, which is what we want to see. Sometimes it doesn't do that, and there's ways that we can fix that. But right now, it recognized to use this point right there, right where I want it to be. Okay, and now in this, I can move it anywhere. But I want it totally vertical. And so see this blue square that pops up when I'm totally vertical? That means I'm at a 90-degree angle. And if I was over here, I'm obviously at different angles. So we want this at 90, okay? And we're going to go up 4, I think we said, right? 1, 2, 3, 4. Up 4. Good. And so I left-clicked to close that because I knew I wanted to keep going. And I'm going to go all the way so that I'm right over top of this. So I'm just hovering over it, saying, hey, I want you to kind of wake up and use that point. It's called inferencing. And then I move it up so it's at 90 degrees again, and I left-click to close that. And now I'm good there. And now I take it down to that corner and click to end it. Alright? And if I hit escape now on my keyboard, let's see what's moving here. So that doesn't know where it wants to be. So let's lock that in, because right now it's blue. It means it's not kind of official yet. So what we want to do is we're going to go up here to dimension, and you can hit D on your keyboard if that button's not showing. And from that surface to this surface, we know we want this at 4 kind of permanently, right? So now, even though there's not a line right here for sure, I'll show you how we're going to do that. And then we got to draw an arc that goes all the way around. So from the center of this, all the way around. And so what we're going to do up here is I don't have the great arc tool showing, so we're going to hit create, and then hover over arc, and say that we want a center point arc, right? And so now what I need to do is make sure right there that triangle pops up. What that triangle means right there, okay, right above my mouse, is that I'm at the midpoint. So it says place the center of my arc, right, center point right there. And now it says, okay, now let's find the radius of the arc. We want to go all the way to this edge out here, which is 6. Click that. And then we're showing it which way we want to go around, and then I'm going to show it where I want it to end. Just right there. And so then there's that arc that goes all the way around, and I have this center point created that I can use for my circle. And this is a 1, 2 radius circle. So now we can go up here and hit our circle tool, and we're going to start it at the center. And you can go sideways, you can go up, you could go on an angle if you wanted. I'm kind of OCD, so I like to stick to kind of 90-degree things. And so my radius is 2, so I'm going to hit 2 to lock that in. Oh, so I made a little mistake. It's actually wanting the diameter of this circle. So that's not 2, I would actually use 4 for that. All right, and I want it to go out that way. And then it's telling me that that to that is 4 all the way across, okay? And if you want to move that, you can click on it and just drag it with a left click. I could have it all the way out here. And all I'm moving, I'm not moving the circle, I'm just moving the dimensions. So I might leave it something like that so it's a little bit easier to see. Same thing with this one. If it was in my way, I can click and move the dimensions. I can't click and move the drawing, but I can click and move the dimensions. Okay? So now we've got a nice little start on this back piece. All we have to do then is extrude it, right? And I drew it on the back edge, so I have to extrude it towards my block. So I'm going to hit Finish Sketch, right? And then let's give ourselves a nice view. So I'm going to go back to a home view. And I've got kind of some weird shapes now. I've got this bottom half, I got the circle, and then this top arc half. So when we go to extrude, now I don't just have one surface. I've actually got 1, 2, 3, 4 surfaces. So it doesn't know which one I want to extrude. So it's asking me automatically highlighted as a profile. Which profiles do you want to extrude? I know I want to do this one, and I want to do this one, and I'm not going to do the circle. Okay? And right now, in the positive direction, it goes out this way. So I want it to be negative, right? And we actually want it to be -1. Okay, so I'm going to hit -1 and enter. We do want it to join up with the rest of this, right? And so now I can hit OK. And that sketch I created on that back will automatically disappear. So now I have 2 sketches. This first sketch was the one that I created this rectangle in. And the second sketch was the one I created that back little tab in, okay? And so now what we want to do is let's create this circle, okay? And how are we going to do that? Let's create a new sketch. So we're going to go up here, and I'm going to go right off the top of this rectangle to create that new sketch. All right? And now I know that this circle has to be 1, 2, 3 radius, which means it's a diameter all the way across of 6. And watch what I'm going to do. I'm just going to randomly throw this circle anywhere. Okay? I'm not going to worry about it being located anywhere. I'm just putting it somewhere on this object. So that means that this center point is totally floating. If when I tell you to click it anywhere, if you put it right on this line, it's going to think that the program, Fusion, is going to think that you always want this circle on this edge. And you're not going to be able to move it off of that. So you have to be a little bit careful where you put it. So I'm kind of specifically not having that center point on anything. And I know I want it to be a 6 diameter circle. And I just hit Enter. And now what we're going to do is we're going to use this dimension tool. So I'm going to hit D on the keyboard, and it automatically puts me in the dimension tool. And the center point of this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 from this front edge. And so we're going to, with our dimension tool still highlighted, click on the center and click on the front edge. And I'm just going to drag it down, and we know that we want that to be 5 inches. And it pulls that circle 5 inches from the top. Okay, and so now we have this 5 from this edge, right? And we're treating each of these blocks as an inch. You probably figured that out already. And now I need it in the middle of this. So it could either be 6 from this or 6 from this. And so there's a couple ways we could do it. Let's just go with the easiest route for now. And so let's go back to our Fusion program. And you can hit D on your keyboard for dimension again. And we're going to do the exact same thing, but to this edge, drag it out this way. And we're going to hit 6 and enter for that. And so now I've got this circle controlled from this edge and this edge exactly where I want it to be. And I can go ahead and hit Finish Sketch and then give ourselves a nice view. We'll go to this home view. And now I just want to take this circle out, right? And so we're going to do that by extruding it again. And this time we're going to select this profile. And we're going to do a couple of different things here, right? So I'm just going to start it down in that direction. And we want this to say cut. And we're going to do a different type of extrusion. I've selected the profile, direction, we just want to go one way. And then distance is what we want to change in this. We're going to say we want it to go through all. And I don't have to worry about a measurement. It's saying I want it to go through this entire surface. Whatever I've drawn, I want this hole to go through all of it. So I just hit that, and that's on cut, and I hit OK. And voila, there our hole is removed from that object. Okay. And now what I want to show you guys is something that I did on purpose. I actually, maybe you caught this, those of you that drew this one and know that from here to here is actually 14 blocks. And in the beginning of this video I told you 13 blocks. So I gave you incorrect information, right? The reason I did that is because the reason we're doing such a kind of basic part is I wanted to be able to show you a couple basic things that we already did, but also how do we make changes, okay? How can we change anything in our drawing that we've already done? So really I need to just change this from 13 to 14. Okay, so let's go back to our Fusion drawing. And if you remember correctly, when I created that, it was my first sketch. And just by hovering my mouse over it, it highlights on my drawing what that sketch was. Okay, and so what we're going to do is we're going to double click on that. It opens up that sketch, and you can see here are my measurements. And without clicking any tools, I'm just in the kind of select tool here. I can actually then go to this dimension, 13. I can double click this, and I can simply change it to 14, right? And if I hit enter right there, it automatically changes that. And now when I hit finish sketch, then it automatically comes back and changes this whole drawing for me in live speed. If I had made a mistake in this one, I just double click it, right? And it's actually got me on the wrong view right now. If you look, it's got me on the right, and I want to be on the left. So let's see how we do that. We can use this. You can actually click and hold anywhere on this cube, and it automatically puts you into an orbit mode, right? Or anywhere out here, if you push in on your scroll wheel, right, without hitting anything on the keyboard, it puts you in what's called pan mode, and it moves your object around by holding the scroll wheel in. And then if you do that same thing, but if you hold down shift on your keyboard and then push in on your scroll wheel, it automatically puts me into orbit mode. Okay, and I know I want to be over here a little bit, and then I'm actually going to go up to my cube and click on the left face so that it squares me up with this face. And now here I could make any changes. I could change the circle, I could change this, whatever I need to do. And then when I'm done making my changes, I just hit finish, and it takes me back out to my object. And let's say that this extrusion, when I push this hole down, I did that wrong. There's another feature that helps us with mistakes, and it's called our timeline. And it's all down here. Everything that you do, this was the first sketch I created. This was the second sketch on this back here. And then the third sketch was just this circle on the top. If I made a mistake, I can actually, instead of clicking right here to get this circle, I can go to my timeline and I can double click that sketch down there, and it takes me into that same sketch, right? Which is also sketched through the same. So you're getting to the same thing in two different ways. Whatever is easier for you to find out where you did that, you can use your timeline or your thing over here. But that extrusion I did, I want to change that right here. So that was this extrusion. So if I double click on that, it takes me right back into everything I did. Remember, I pulled that out of there? And if, let's say, I didn't want to go all the way through this time, I did it wrong, I need to go back to distance, and I just want to go -1, right? Not all the way through. I'm still cutting it out. Then I would have this just inset that way. And then if oh yeah, right, you know what? I do want that to go all the way through. I can go back and I can make that change and hit OK. And so this timeline allows you to do some edits and some things like that as well. So the whole point of all of this was to just kind of show you how to do some different features, make sure you got a good base, but also really the main purpose of this assignment was to show you how to change things when you make a mistake, or if you make a mistake, is to go back into these sketches and to do things that way. And so we'll get a lot more practice with this as we go. But this is the ISO sketch 2.7, excuse me, 2.7 that will turn in. And we're going to turn that in the same way. And so what I want you to do is to, well, before we do turn in, let's go ahead and just update our save. And so let's say it's now finished. And we just hit OK. So it wants you to save the versions of it, which is sometimes handy, but every time you save, it'll just say, what version is this? And you can say, oh, I'm partway through, halfway through. If you're doing a video tutorial and you don't get all the way through the video, what's sometimes nice about being able to save is, so let's say I'm going to go back, and I'm going to go forward, just so that I change the drawing, and now I can go back to save. Let's say that I am 13 minutes through a 20-minute video. So for this version save, I could say 13 minutes and 21 seconds, right? Or you could just leave the time, whatever you wanted. So you could actually save your version as what time you left off in your tutorial, and then when you came back to open this the next day, you might be able to reference that and find it in the video, just as, kind of an idea. All right, so if we hit finish there, we want to be in our home view, and it kind of nice, gives us a nice zoom. I'm going to move it back a little bit, and what we're going to do is right click on body and then go down and left click on properties. It's going to bring all this up here, and then I'm going to go down to my snipping tool. And again, this is something that I'm going to use a lot in this class. You are going to use a lot in this class. And so if you look on my bottom toolbar down here, I've actually saved that snipping tool by doing that same thing that I showed you with Fusion, right clicking it, and I pinned it to this taskbar. Right now it asks I can only unpin it, but if you want to pin it, you can keep that down there. Whoops. And so then I'm in rectangular mode again, and I just want a new snip. And we're going to go up here, and we want the whole entire, the whole entire thing. Take that snip and turn in the screenshot of this with your properties showing, and then that's what you can submit for this assignment. All right, thank you.